For centuries, power was measured in land, gold, or steel. Control over oil, factories, or physical territory defined the world's hierarchy. Now it's measured in something far more ephemeral, yet infinitely more valuable: data. This is the new gold. Welcome to the era of the Silicon Alchemists. They are the entities that have mastered the art of transmutation. They don't dig for ore, they mine your attention, your preferences, your very thoughts. They are the uncrowned emperors of the digital age. Their empires span continents, yet their borders are invisible, and their influence is absolute. They command legions of users, not armies. Their wealth is generated not in smokestacks and assembly lines, but in server farms and algorithms. Think of Amazon, Google, Apple, and the constellation of platforms surrounding them. Their names are not just brands, they are the infrastructure of modern existence, their influence woven into the very fabric of society, from commerce to communication. But how did these companies, once garage startups, ascend to such unprecedented levels of wealth and control in less than 2 decades? It's a story not of traditional industry, but of sophisticated digital extraction and psychological capture. The first key to the alchemist's success is the network effect. In traditional capitalism, competition breaks monopolies. New players arrive and offer a superior product at a lower price. In digital capitalism, this rule is inverted. The biggest platform naturally attracts the most users, which attracts the most content, which attracts even more users. This creates a self-reinforcing, insurmountable barrier to entry. Why would you start a new social media platform, for instance, when everyone you want to talk to is already on the existing one? This dynamic guarantees winner-take-all dominance, turning competition into a quaint historical concept. The platform becomes the market, and the market becomes the monopoly. The second key is the zero-cost trap. These companies offer us remarkable convenience, communication, and entertainment for what appears to be free. But the price is not monetary. The price is the continuous minute-by-minute stream of behavioral data we generate. This data is the raw material. It is refined, analyzed, and used to create the most powerful commodity on Earth: prediction. It allows the alchemists to predict your next purchase, your next emotional state, your likelihood to click, and even your next vote. This prediction is their true product, sold to advertisers, political consultants, and anyone seeking to influence mass behavior. By making the transaction free, they have cunningly hidden the true cost of their service, your autonomy and your private behavioral surplus. You are not their customer, you are the product they sell. The most precious resource they extract is not data itself, but your attention. Their entire business model is built around maximizing your time on screen. Their algorithms are designed not to inform you, but to engage you, often by promoting sensational, polarizing, or emotionally charged content. They have weaponized human psychology to maximize dwell time, creating an internal dynamic that rewards conflict and spectacle over truth and substance. This relentless pursuit of attention is the ultimate form of digital mining, digging into the finite resource of human consciousness. The goal is simple: capture and maximize screen time, because screen time translates directly into predictable data, and predictable data translates into profit. This mechanism leads directly to the erosion of shared reality and the deepening of societal division. The Silicon Alchemists are not merely observers of culture, they are the primary architects of the world we consume, constantly optimizing it for engagement, regardless of the social cost. The dominance of the Silicon Alchemists has been further enabled by a global regulatory vacuum. Governments, structured to deal with the tangible assets of the industrial age, landlines, factories, and steel, are profoundly ill-equipped to regulate intangible data empires that transcend borders. These companies operate like sovereign nations, defining their own laws within their platforms and lobbying fiercely to prevent meaningful oversight. They exploit jurisdictional arbitrage, mirroring the old industrial dynasties like the Agnellis, but at the speed of light and on a global scale. The result is a system where the largest fortunes in human history are accumulated under rules that they themselves largely helped write. The philosopher's stone of the 21st century is the ability to transmute raw information into absolute power, and it's being wielded without democratic check or balance. This digital extraction economy is not just changing the market, it is fundamentally changing the nature of governance itself. The Silicon Alchemists have established their base, a monopoly on attention built on the zero-cost trap. But the question is, how do they translate this immense digital wealth into tangible, pervasive control? The answer lies in the architecture of control, a system of dominance that blends market power, political capture, and psychological engineering. We are now living in an era of digital feudalism. In the industrial age, corporations owned the factories and you worked for them. In the digital age, companies owned the platforms and you operate on them. The platforms, the app stores, the Amazon marketplace, the search portals are the new feudal estates. If you are a small business, you do not exist unless you are on their marketplace. If you are a developer, you cannot reach customers without paying their 30% digital toll. These platforms control access to the market, and access is power. They act as both the landlord and the competitor. They observe which products sell best on their marketplace, then launch their own private label version, using their absolute control over the data and the customer flow to instantly choke out the original innovator. This is not competition, it is a systematic algorithmic cannibalization of the independent economy. But the control extends far beyond mere commerce. They control the supply chain of the mind. Technology giants are no longer neutral pipes, they are the ultimate editors of human reality. Their algorithms determine which news reaches your screen, which historical facts appear in your search results, and which political voices are amplified or silenced. This is algorithmic gatekeeping. By optimizing for engagement, they create information silos, turning society into fragmented, perpetually angry tribes. This power grants them an unparalleled ability to influence political discourse. In traditional politics, you lobby the government. In the era of the Silicon Alchemists, you are the infrastructure through which the government communicates. Their platforms can selectively promote or suppress movements, effectively steering the direction of public sentiment without ever casting a vote. The integration of political campaigning with targeted platform advertising is the ultimate expression of this control, turning democracy into an optimization problem where the side with the best data and the deepest pockets wins the day. This control is solidified by a corrosive system of political alchemy. The revolving door between Silicon Valley executives and government offices in Washington, D.C. and Brussels spins faster than ever before. Tech lawyers become government regulators. Former regulators accept high-paying jobs as tech lobbyists. They are actively engaged in regulatory capture, shaping laws and antitrust enforcement to fit their business model. When they are brought before Congress or Parliament, they do not face scrutiny, they face deference. Why? Because governments are dependent on them for everything from national security infrastructure, cloud services, to the distribution of public health information. The state cannot function without the digital platforms, making the state inherently subservient to their interests. The alchemists have successfully outsourced the functions of the state to their own servers. The final element of their architecture is the surveillance dividend. The goal of every connected device is not convenience, it is data acquisition. Every smart speaker, every wearable device, every Ring doorbell is a node in a vast, privately owned surveillance network. This constant, comprehensive observation creates what Shoshana Zuboff called surveillance capitalism. Your home is no longer private, it is a continuously monitored data asset. They monetize your behavior, not just your online behavior, but your physical existence. This surveillance dividend gives them a predictive edge that is impossible to overcome. They are building a world where our choices are guided, our mistakes are anticipated, and our rebellion is preempted, all in the name of efficiency and personalized service. This profound concentration of power and surveillance is not a bug in the system, it is the fundamental design. The Silicon Alchemists have perfected the conversion of human experience into computational advantage, creating a new form of oligarchy where the ultimate controllers are invisible algorithms. The challenge to the nation-state is now complete. The economic power is unchallengeable. The political influence is dominant, and the digital infrastructure is owned by private, self-interested, sovereign actors. They have established the terms of our existence. And this brings us to the ultimate question.
What happens when these actors begin to systematically detach themselves from the national interests that allowed them to grow so large? This is the subject of our final chapter.
The Silicon Alchemists have achieved digital dominance, built an architecture of control, and captured the mechanisms of the state. But the most terrifying move is their final act, the global decoupling. This is the surgical separation of the largest global corporations from the national interests that allowed them to grow so large. The tech giants have realized that the nation-state, which once provided a fertile ground for growth, is now an unnecessary liability. Governments come with regulations, taxes, and geopolitical risks. The Alchemists, having secured their immense wealth, are now seeking to secure their wealth from the nation-state. This is evident in the rise of the sovereign cloud. Cloud infrastructure is the ultimate neutral territory. When data is stored in massive, distributed global data centers, who has legal jurisdiction? Is it the country where the server physically resides, the country where the company is legally incorporated, or the country where the user is located? The lines are deliberately blurred. This ambiguity allows the alchemists to operate as extraterritorial entities, essentially creating their own set of global digital laws that supersede national authority. They function less like American or Irish companies, and more like a separate, sovereign entity of the cloud. This strategy is primarily driven by their commitment to escaping taxation. Tax avoidance is the cornerstone of the decoupling. Technology giants utilize sophisticated digital arbitrage, channeling profits through low-tax jurisdictions like Ireland, Luxembourg, or the Netherlands, mirroring the exact maneuvers of old industrial families like the Agnellis, but scaling the operation across the entire globe. This practice starves national treasuries, destabilizing the very public budgets meant to fund schools, roads, and healthcare. They consume national infrastructure and a skilled workforce, yet they refuse to pay the societal fee. The cost of their digital empire is effectively borne by the global taxpayer. Furthermore, the alchemists are actively creating parallel currencies and financial systems. Initiatives like Facebook's attempt to launch a global digital currency, Diem, Libra, were not merely business experiments. They were a direct challenge to the monetary sovereignty of nation-states. Imagine a private currency used by billions of people, a currency that bypasses central banks, sidesteps capital controls, and operates entirely outside of traditional national regulatory frameworks. This move threatens to strip governments of their ultimate tool of control, the ability to issue and manage money. The alchemists seek to become the ultimate intermediaries, owning not just the marketplace of goods, but the currency of exchange itself. The ultimate warning signal of this decoupling can be found in their long-term investments. They are not investing in revitalizing the infrastructure of the American Midwest or the European South. They are investing in existential hedge assets. They acquire vast tracts of remote land, fund private space exploration, and heavily invest in life extension technologies. They are preparing their fortunes and themselves for a world of geopolitical fracture and climate instability. When the ultra-elite invest billions in building self-sufficient underground bunkers and securing long-term food stability in distant countries, it is the loudest possible signal that they anticipate a systemic failure of the current social contract. They are hedging against the collapse of the very societies they profit from. The Silicon Alchemists' actions tell us they are no longer optimizing for national prosperity, they are optimizing for dynastic survival. The national allegiance is gone, replaced by a ruthless loyalty to the algorithm and the balance sheet. This transition presents a profound challenge to democracy. When the most powerful economic actors are detached from the social and fiscal health of any single nation, who holds them accountable? The traditional democratic tools, regulation, taxation, antitrust, are useless when the target can simply vanish into the cloud or arbitrage its legal domicile across 3 continents. The era of the national champion is over. We have entered the era of the sovereign corporate power. The Agnellis showed us the blueprint in the industrial age. Use the state to build your fortune, then abandon the state when the bill comes due. The Silicon Alchemists are simply executing this blueprint on a digital planetary scale. If you are watching this, you need to ask yourself a critical question. Is your wealth, your autonomy, and your information tied to a sinking geography, or have you built your own global lifeboat? The time for patriotic investing is over.
The time for generational survival has begun. The citizen is pitted against the algorithm, and the storm is already here.